I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring the thrilling world of a remarkable book, Cage Lie. It's written by a terrific author by the name of David Myers. This captivating novel follows the intense life of a policewoman facing crime, love, and difficult choices in her city. Join us as we dive into a story filled with twists, suspense, and heartfelt moments. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. David, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You're a real life law enforcement officer. Was any of this based on real life in your experiences?
Actually, the ideas that I got and the twists and turns for the plot that I used were pretty much all inspired by my previous life as a law enforcement officer. Yes.
All right. And where were you an officer?
I was a correctional officer, 1-2 sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and major in the Arizona Department of Corrections for 20 years. I retired after 20 years.
Okay, I don't blame you. It's a lot of work, and you've put your time to good use now by writing this book. Serena is a terrific character. Tell us a little bit about developing her, and tell the folks at home a little bit about her story.
Well, yeah, Serena was an officer on the police force who was in love with her sergeant, her boyfriend, and I invented her probably based on the fact that I wanted to have a strong female character with unquestionable morals and high standards, and that's how I came up with her. She was on her way to being promoted to a sergeant, and that's kind of the way the story begins, and ultimately ends as she attains the position of sergeant.
Give us a little bit of the nuts and bolts of the story.
Serena promotes to sergeant and has to fight crime. She has a minimum of 6 officers assigned to her, and so while some of them are experienced, some of them are rookies. So as she goes through her days and through her weeks, she's kind of training the newer ones, supporting the experienced ones, and has to put up with a lot of criminal behavior, and she gets herself and her officers involved in a lot of skirmishes. And maybe skirmishes is the wrong word. It's kind of a small word for what she actually has to delve into. Ultimately, she has to make decisions on a love interest between 2 men, on the private detective that gets involved, whose side he's on, and a very extremely intense chief of police. I don't want to say much more because I don't want to give anything away.
Exactly. Well, it's a great story. It's an incredible world you have created there. And her little love triangle there is interesting, of course, for the readers as well. I always root for the private eye. I always love private eyes in stories because they're kind of a hard Scrabble type, that's for sure. Have you ever envisioned this as a movie? And if so, who would play Serena?
I have envisioned this as a movie, absolutely. I think it would make a great movie. I guess I don't really know who I envisioned as Serena. I think it would have to be somebody who's very fit, somebody who's relatively young, somebody who I've cast her as very pretty. So somebody would have to match that. And there's a lot of Hollywood movie stars out there that would fit that.
A lot of contenders were very pretty, very strong, very versatile, that's for sure. I could see Gal Gadot perhaps playing the part,
Sure.
She could put aside her Wonder Woman shield and pick up the shield of a police officer. I think that would be pretty cool for sure. Is this your first book?
This is my second book, second published
Okay.
book.
Tell us about your first book.
First one was called You Can't Say a Thing, and that was about a woman who gets set up on a blind date with a guy who is it's been so long, a man who's does people's taxes for a living. and his brother is a top in his field psychologist who kind of sets him and his love interest up, and they go through a whole litany of events. And the one thing that I specialize in both these books is twists and turns. I'm going to lead you down a path to where you think you got it figured out, and then I'm going to drop a wrench in there, and you're going to go, no, that's impossible. And I do that 3, 4, 5, 6 times, so that by the time the end comes, you have no idea who did what, why, where, how, and you have to hear from me as the author as to what actually happened. Both books do this.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great technique to raise the stakes like that, to have people guessing. It creates a page turner, which of course this book is. Now, Serena sounds like a character that could survive many, many books. Are you thinking about making her story a series?
You know, yes, I am. I'm hoping that through you, I can generate a lot of interest in Cage the Lie. I do have a sequel to my first book, You Can't Say a Thing, is written, but I don't have it. I haven't submitted for publishing yet, but it is ready to go, and it is the sequel. And that one, the publisher that I used absolutely wanted me to make a second of it, make it a series. Cage the Lie, I think, would make a better series, because I think Cage the Lie, for me, is much better written, because I had the experience now of having written a book. And so I think Cage the Lie came a lot easier, although it took me a little longer to write it.
Well, what do you mean by Cage the Lie? Explain the significance of the title.
Well, for Serena to solve the crime, she has to be able to see through truth and lies. And once she's got the lie intact and understands what it is, once she has it caged, the crime can be solved. But it takes a lot of getting there for Serena to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Tell us about the role that your law enforcement career played in crafting this plot, this story, these characters.
Well, you can imagine, in 20 years working in the Department of Corrections, I've worked minimum security, medium security, maximum security, women, juvenile, death row, administrative segregation, protective custody. I worked every level you can possibly, death row. I've worked every level you possibly can. So imagine my ability to have spoken with many of the inmates. And while I was not a counselor whose job it is to really speak with them, I picked up on things. I've overheard things. I've actually talked with a lot of inmates, and I've kind of learned how they think. And with that experience over 20 years, I think I was able to craft a series of twists and turns that are not far-fetched at all, that are realistic and could actually happen.
I think that's the magic of creating a good plot twist, is that the change in direction is very, very plausible, very, very feasible. You just didn't see it coming.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. What was your favorite part to write? What was your most difficult part to write when it came to writing this book?
You know, there's a lot of difficulty there. It's writing a book. Logan, writing a book is not, you just sit down one day and you put in a 40-hour week, take 2 days off, and then go back to it on Monday. Writing a book is struggling, and I didn't do it like maybe like most authors would, where you sit down with pen and paper and write out a list of characters and their qualities and how you're going to stick with those qualities. I didn't do it that way. I did it from up here, from my experience as a law enforcement and my experience as a high school English teacher. My favorite part would be Serena at the pizza place. Yeah, and the way she was off duty, but she had to stop a crime. I made it funny. I made it as if it was just another day in the office for her. And I made it so that the customers in the pizza place and her boyfriend at the time, who was sitting with her, were like all in awe. And for her, just another day.
Very cool, very cool. Almost like Dirty Harry when he's in the coffee shop.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
He gets the wrong cup of coffee and immediately realizes something is wrong. So yeah, we love those moments, the thrilling moments. I think the idea of having an avenging hero, a warrior, particularly when it's a woman, a beautiful woman, there's something so appealing to the reader, would be so appealing to the viewer if it was a film, don't you think?
I agree. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Without a doubt. The name of this book is Cage the Lie by David Myers. It is a captivating novel that follows the intense life of a policewoman facing crime, love, and difficult choices in her city. It is a story that is just filled with unexpected plot twists, suspense, and heartfelt moments. This book is a page turner. You'll be fanning yourself with those pages. You'll want to find out what's going to happen next. David, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, sir. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.